Sometimes life gives you the perfect opportunity to do the right thing. And sometimes it gives you the perfect excuse to stop pretending you always have to. This is the story of the day I lost control, or maybe found it, when someone decided that my car, my boundaries, and my patience didn't matter. They picked the wrong woman to mess with, the one who used to be feral. So buckle up, because this revenge didn't come from planning or logic. It came from instinct, and it came fast. Let me take you back a bit, because before this story even begins, you have to understand who I am. I'm 54 now, a grown woman, a professional, someone who spent over 20 years keeping her life in perfect order. But that wasn't always the case. From the time I was 11 until my early 20s, I was, let's just say, wild. Not cute, not quirky, not the haha and so crazy kind of wild. I mean truly feral. I fought, I ran, I shouted, I broke things that weren't mine. And I didn't take disrespect quietly. Life didn't hand me peace. I had to teach myself what that looked like. And when you've lived like that, when you've had to unlearn survival mode, you know what it takes to keep your composure in a world that tests it every day. So now, decades later, I live calm, polished, educated. People look at me and expect me to act right. And for the most part, I do. But every once in a while, that old version of me, the one who didn't take any crap, she stirs. And when she does, people remember her. It was my niece's graduation day. A bright, chaotic afternoon full of caps, gowns, and proud parents holding flowers and signs. The parking lot looked like a battlefield. Cars jammed into every possible corner, people waving, shouting, backing up without looking. After circling for what felt like forever, I saw it, the perfect spot, right at the end of the row next to a curb. Nobody could block me in. It was like the universe said, "Here, Auntie, this one's for you." I parked with a little grin, shut off the engine, and took a breath. Tiny victories, right? The ceremony itself was beautiful. My niece looked radiant. My sister was crying. Everyone clapped at the wrong times. And for a while, I forgot the rest of the world. It felt good to celebrate something pure. Afterward, we planned to meet at a restaurant nearby for dinner. I walked back to my car still smiling, still proud. And that's when I saw it. At first, my brain couldn't even process what I was looking at. There, parked directly in front of me, in a clearly marked no parking area, was a beige SUV. Not parked next to me. Not even angled in. No. They had made their own parking spot by blocking mine. And not just close. Their rear bumper was shoved into mine. I froze. The front of my car, my first ever brand new car, the one I had worked years to buy, was crumpled inward, the SUV's metal edge pressing deep into it. It felt like someone had hit me, a gut punch. That car wasn't just transportation. It was a symbol of how far I'd come from the chaos I grew up in. From hand-me-down everything, from the girl who never owned anything she couldn't lose. That car was mine, paid off, clean, cared for. Now, some careless stranger had jammed their vehicle right into it, like my property didn't matter. The rage came fast, like a fuse lit to gasoline. I looked around, scanning the crowd for someone heading toward the SUV. Nobody. People were leaving in waves, and another graduation was about to start. Whoever did this had probably slipped inside, figured they'd deal with it later, and thought I wouldn't notice. I pulled out my phone, ready to call the police. But then I stopped. It was a private lot. The most they'd do is take a report. Maybe call a tow truck. It would take hours, maybe longer. And I knew this kind of person, they'd never own up to what they did. A note? Please. People like that don't leave voicemails apologizing. They leave tire marks. So I stood there, fists tight, heart pounding, breathing that slow burn that sits behind your teeth. And then, for the first time in years, something inside me whispered, "You don't have to act right." The woman I used to be, she didn't ask for permission. She didn't file polite complaints. she handled things directly. And as I stood there, staring at that SUV, pressing against my car like it owned the space, I felt her rise. I opened my car door, reached into the side compartment, and pulled out my pocket knife. I'd had it forever, one of those just-in-case items that lives in my glove box. Old habits. I looked around once more. No one nearby. No cameras that I could see. The air was hot, humming with the sound of celebration echoing from the auditorium. And then, without hesitation, I walked to the passenger side of the SUV, crouched down, and plunged the blade into the first tire. It was instant. The loud hiss of escaping air, sharp and satisfying. I didn't flinch. I moved to the next one, the front tire, and did the same. Another long, angry exhale from the rubber. It felt like the universe was sighing right along with me. The fury drained out of me with that air. My pulse slowed, and when I stood up, they didn't feel proud, but I didn't feel guilty either. I just felt done. I folded the knife, got back into my car, started the engine, and drove away like nothing had happened. The moment I turned out of that lot, I felt it, that jittery post-adrenaline tremor. The logical part of me whispered, "You shouldn't have done that." But the other part, the one that still knew what it meant to stand up for yourself when nobody else will, she just smirked. By the time I reached the restaurant, my hands had stopped shaking. I parked, took a deep breath, and finally got out to check the damage. In my mind, I was ready for it. A dent, a scrape, a permanent scar that would remind me of this day. I walked around to the front of the car and froze. It looked fine. No dent, no scrape, no visible mark of impact. It was as if the bumper had popped right back out when the SUV backed away. Maybe it had some kind of flex system. Maybe I just got lucky. I didn't care. I just stood there, staring, completely dumbfounded. The car was fine. The revenge was already done. And for a brief, silent second, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I'd gone full feral over a situation that, at least cosmetically, had fixed itself. I could picture it now, that SUV owner walking out after the ceremony, dressed nice, feeling proud, maybe taking photos, only to find 2 flat tires and a note from the universe that said, "Don't mess with other people's space." Was it overkill? Probably. Would I do it again? Maybe not. But did it feel balanced? Absolutely. Later that night, when the family had gone home and I was lying in bed, the whole day replayed in my mind like a slow-motion movie. For most of my adult life, I've worked hard to be the better person, to be calm, mature, civilized, to act right, even when people don't. But sometimes, people mistake your calm for weakness. They think your silence means submission. And that's the mistake that SUV owner made. I'd spent years learning how to control my temper, how to let things go. But there's a difference between forgiveness and allowing yourself to be walked over. That day reminded me that my old self, the one I thought I'd buried, she wasn't gone. She was just resting. And when I needed her, she showed up. Was it rational? U.S. No. Was it legal? 4. Definitely not. Freedom, the causes but in that of one the American heated Revolution, moment, it was real. Narration script. It was the kind of 4 justice minutes you don't find by in the mid 1700s. The kind the 13 that comes colonies from deep were thriving when towns you've had were enough. Growing, trade was booming. And people were beginning to see themselves as Americans, not just subjects of Britain, but across the Atlantic. And sometimes the British government still claimed full control. I didn't wait for karma. And that tension was about to explode after the French and Indian War, 1754, 1763. Britain was deep in debt. But every once in a while, to recover the money, when someone the king and Parliament decided that the colonies should help pay. They began passing